Hello there, everyone and anyone. How's everyone doing today? I know Thursday isn't usually when I do things, but some stuff is coming up tomorrow, and I wanted to make sure I still streamed to people at the time they were most available. I don't quite. I haven't done quite as much work on character models, Bing Bon. Um, I do know that you can use Face Poser to at least work on animations for the face and to get um, some of the bone structure to work. But today we will be continuing on from last week with some work on this map, which is DE Nova for Counter Strike 2. To go along with that, going to be this will be the second part of getting this background area done. And let's go ahead and align this here. Like that, we've aligned it to the entrance to the actual map. Hello there, Fantastic Boom. I also have pulled up here what I'm going to be basing this map off of, which is my Gmod map called Nova. Very creative naming scheme, I know. And just so we can make sure that all the textures and props are what they are. Let me just get this set up here. Hello there, Combine collaborator. How's everyone doing on this Thursday? There we go. Gotcha. We can do that. It's totally understandable, Combine collaborator. I thank you for your previous credit donations. So you are all good. I hope things are going well with your new gear. There we go. Now the floors and the walls are properly aligned with this area inside the map. We will need to start doing that a little bit so we can get the floor aligned this way. Yep, Bing Bon, this is Nova Prospect in CS2. This is a one site diffuse map set on the map where you come from the showers. Here. You might recognize this part. And yeah. Just adding in some background details. Now that there are some new props and such that can help the vibe of the map. Oh, that's so nice, Combine Collaborator. I'm glad to hear that you got to see this person. Hope it was a good time. Hope the trek across the whole country wasn't too rough. Over on this side, too. That is from my map, so we can actually just get rid of that. And we can actually get rid of that. Perfect. And we'll just have to make the ceiling, which we can actually just extend here. Since these walls won't be seen, we can continue the trend that we had last week, where we do this. Since no draw doesn't quite work the way it used to. Might not even actually need some of this stuff up here anyways, regardless. Hello there, Elite Benefactor. I'm doing well. How are you? And yes, this is Nova Prospect, just in Source 2. Actually, I can make this look a little more visually interesting. You actually can't see up into the control room all that much. That is alright. We can just clear out more stuff here and make it render a little easier. Do that. Let's continue on with getting these. Unlike Source 1, having stuff extend beyond what is the intended playable space in terms of brushes slash meshes does cause a couple extra issues, so we want to reduce that as much as possible. And that is entirely doable. Just a couple things like that. With all of that in place, can just do this and that. Ah, no, we need to do this. There we go. And then we can shorten all of this more. Yeah, Elite Benefactor, Nova Prospect was partially inspired by Alcatraz. You can sort of see it in this sort of block here. This prison block, the way that like it's tiered and the ceilings and everything, it feels very much like Alcatraz. Surprisingly, there are, I know, some old, very old Russian Imperial prisons, and some earlier Soviet era prisons that also look actually very similar to Alcatraz, and thus kind of similar to Nova Prospect. So it kind of all works out style wise. Um, Alexander, Source 2 hammer is, I think, quite a bit different from Hammer Plus Plus. Mainly because rather than there being a better or worse, this is because Source 2 is so fundamentally different than Source 1. Source 1, I mean, if you used regular hammer before, you'll know that what the engine is like. But Source 2 has so many different features that it's a bit it's kind of too different to compare the hammer types, at least in my opinion. Um, the big the big thing with the hammers being so different is so many of the features in terms of like the brush work and stuff like that is so different that um, while there are a lot of analogous components, it's such a fundamentally different way of approaching kind of everything. Um, a great example is just the way that faces are handled. Faces in Source 2 are handled more individually. And what I mean by that is they can quite literally be their own singular brush, like this, over Source 1, where you can't actually have a single faced thing like this. You can even just delete the faces like that. And yeah. And while Source 1 removes a lot of these unused faces in compile, especially if you put the no draw texture on, it's just better for in Source 2 to just remove them because it adds so much more noise that isn't necessary in terms of like looking through views like this. And it makes the face count a bit more bloated. And sometimes Source 2 doesn't actually remove the faces if you leave them in. So just better to not have them at all. That and like Gary's mod, Source 2 has a built-in asset packer to the BSP, so that means that anything you add to the map gets added into the file. So not having any loose textures or models around will save a little bit of space for everyone. And if you remove these faces, you can do some neat stuff with them in terms of merging them into singular brushes, or I guess singular meshes. Meshes being the new name for brushes, as the engine has gone more and more in the direction of Blender or 3ds Max or Maya. We will fix this staircase as well when we get to the texturing portion. And then we'll be able to sort out all of this. Slightly, Alexander. I'm adding in an area that you can see through these door windows here, just as a little extra visual thing. Um, a lot of the limits for stuff in Source 2 have been increased, so there's a higher brush and prop limit, and with a lot more ability to optimize things, you can actually put in a lot more details, even into multiplayer maps, almost single player level of detailing. And so I figured for this part of CT spawn and the deathmatch spawns, might as well add some extra little visual flair. Um, and on top of this project also includes some additions from the new cache and train that were added relatively recently. So that is part of the plan. That said, certain things can't actually be seen from this angle. Let's double check here in source 1. Yeah. Be able to see everything, which is fair. Also, yes, Lustin, the errors in source 2 are quite different. The error models themselves are goldish orange, and then the error texture rather than the pink and black or the purple and black checkerboard, they are a red and black checkerboard for the error textures. Can actually probably just remove kind of all of this except for the lighting. What we can do. Oh, no, no, no. What we can do is remove this. Do this. Extend this out. The other thing is that you can actually make slightly distorted brushes as well, unlike in Source 1. But we aren't going to be doing that per se. Take these two edges here. I'll actually just extend it. No. How do I want to do this? I know exactly how to do this. Two vertices, merge those. What we can do is that. So we can extend this over here. And then we merge those two there, and we now have our new ceiling here, which all won't be seen, but we'll keep it inside because if sort of like source one, if you let stuff get beyond the playable space, sometimes there'll be it will make visibility vvis 2 add in some extra stuff beyond the playable space, and that eats into rendering time and makes things not quite as optimized. And since this is a background area, it should just be very optimized, which we can do. This is for CS2 Gassior. Though, with some slight tweaks and stuff taken from CS2, this could actually be backwards imported into Half-Life Alyx. Yes, this is a bit of a strange method to make an arch up there, but as it won't be seen, we can just remove it and save a little space. That further light might be seen, but this one won't be. That's a particle rope. That wasn't even actually a light. Okay, that's fine. That can still be removed. It's also a particle rope, and that's also a rope. We will just do this for now. Also, for everyone working on stuff, make sure you save frequently. Don't forget to save. Saving is very important, regardless of whatever creative endeavor you're doing. Uh, digitally, saving is always important. Do not forget to do that. Do that. We're going to tweak the lighting a bit after. Just want to get the lighting started so we have a basis for how things are going to look. This will include both Counter-Strike 2 as well as Half-Life Alyx textures. This here is actually a Half-Life Alyx texture, while the walls are Counter-Strike 2. I have a couple other. We'll come off lighting for a second. This prop here, this rubble prop, this is from Half-Life Alyx. Same with, actually that's a mesh. This one is from Aperture Desk Job. There's a background shot in that where they reuse they create a new version of the Half-Life 2 like ammo boxes. And I brought that in here. This is from Half-Life Alyx. That's from Half-Life Alyx. That is from CS2. This, I believe, is from Half-Life Alyx, the door frame. The door itself, again, from Counter-Strike 2. These pipes that look like they're from Half-Life 2 are actually from Counter-Strike 2. And then the metal bars are from Aperture Desk Job as well, from the prison sequence. These vents, I believe, are the ones from Nuke, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, the from the remake of Nuke that they did way back when. But there's quite a lot of a mixture of Half-Life Alyx stuff. Like a good chunk of stuff here is from Alyx, including the Golden Lion Distillery vodka bottles. Made sure to use what I could from CS2 that already looked like it was either from Half-Life 2 or Half-Life Alyx, and then I've made sure that Alyx was the main grab for resources. And there's a couple extra. There's actually quite a bit of remade props from Half-Life 2 in CS2 directly. Some of the chairs, because they were also used in CS:GO, they were remade for some of the stuff for CS2. So, if I do any other CS2 themed maps, I will have that to work with. Or other Half-Life 2 themed maps for CS2, I will have more stuff to work with. Um, as well. As well as you guys, if you guys end up doing that yourself. think, related to some of this. It's time to get a little bit of planing onto the textures here. I'm gonna have to probably see this floor tiling is from Aperture Desk Job, but some of it doesn't quite align as well as I would like it to. So I might consider replacing this texture, although it looks extremely close to the texture in Half-Life 2. Or far closer to the texture in Half-Life 2 than some of the other options that I saw between the various games. So there is that. It works at least it works well for now. But I need to see roughly where the tiling. Okay. So what we will do is that goes there for the moment. Goes there. That goes there. Right? Yeah. Um, yes. I'll leave that is that. Okay. Hello there, Jeffinator. Glad to see you. Hope you're doing well as well. From what I've seen, everyone seems to be doing pretty well. I could technically port the original texture, though, because um, all the other assets I'm using currently for this are so high resolution, it would look a little off to use the original texture of Fantastic Boom. But maybe there are alternative textures out there I can look for that look a lot like it. We shall see. This texture, however, can still work great for this. Is this actually what I did for the other areas? I shall check. No, I actually used a different texture for the big holes. Hmm. Okay. Yeah. I know what to do. Alright. We'll do this. Hmm. Okay. So just that area is tiled. I would also agree, Jeff Nader. I think the map is also coming along quite well. Then again, as the maker of the map itself, maybe that's a little biased on my part at least. Gotcha. Okay. So. Gotcha. Alright. Actually, this does that, and then that does that. What we can do is there. That is better. We can do this too. Worst case scenario with the slightly misaligned textures is I can always technically rework these areas to be more in line with the texture rather than vice versa. Though it is nice to have everything align very well with the original layout, personally. Interesting. That did that. How about we do this? Are we should be able to. Selected objects should be able to just move this to world. I can't. Very odd. How did I do these? Oh, yes, actually. I know exactly. I was looking in the wrong place. Or was I? Hmm. Might have to come back to that. Might have to come back to that. Yes, actually, this is that same part of the map, Fantastic Boom, where Mr. Dr. Breen says that line to the Overwatch. And I always love that speech too. Uh, my goal, Jeff Nader, is for today to hopefully, yeah, I think just as a part two to adding this section in from last week is to get as much of this uh space done as I can in terms of texturing and um getting things done. And I think a part three will be then adding in a lot of the little smaller brush details. Because when I worked on this map originally, I wanted to include further brush details like this. Uh, Stuff that like separates out the ceiling from the wall. which, while very fun and I think looks very nice, it is quite intensive. Same thing with the ceiling here. The ceiling was quite a pain to set up, but very fun. So yeah, the first thing is to just get the basics in and then start doing some of that detailing after. And with a lot of the, given that we did most of the uh, uh, what's it called? The initial optimization and some of the biggest work last week, getting in quite a bit of the next phases of like textures and maybe some props replaced and some smaller little optimizations should go smooth and quick. It will be good to get that progress done. And the little smaller optimizations and stuff are these bits of brushwork slash meshwork. Um, Similar to source 1, meshes in source 2 do cause some stuff regarding visibility. And so not having things extend beyond what's supposed to be the intended interior of the map really helps make sure the map compiles its visibility much better. So that's what I intend to do as well. And yeah, actually, there is one. So with source 2, because you can manipulate the edges and faces a lot differently compared to source 1, you can actually make this super optimized and even reduce some of the complexities regarding this sort of thing by actually just extruding a new face like this. And blam. Now it's a secured interior. Does mean, though, that this is now part of that brush, but that's a-okay. Remove extra faces. Fewer the faces, the better. And as well, no draw in source 2 doesn't quite work the same way as it did in source 1. So actually just outright removing no draw based faces is for the best. as where no draw had the faces remove on compile and technically consider them non-existent. In source 2 doesn't provide the lighting, though it does remove the face. But at that point, might as well just remove the face itself, especially when there are many benefits to doing so. Plus, it just makes the whole thing tidier. Like so. Yes, Fantastic Boom. A lot of the geometry that you're seeing for the arched ceilings, that's all original to Half-Life 2. That I did not do that. Um, I had never thought about hosting my own mapping competition. I would actually have to think about what the theme would be, Jeff Nader. I would make an announcement for that. What would my theme be? Hmm. I'm always a fan of urban city themed maps, Half-Life or not. So maybe something like that would be my theme. Though maybe there are other ones that could be very interesting, other themes. Oh. I guess it would depend. Were you thinking that this competition would be for Gmod, or do you think that this competition would be for a different game? Because a CS2 themed mapping competition would be pretty cool. Some of the stuff people have created for CS2 already has been just mind blowing. Um, though yeah, I think if it was a Gmod competition, I think an urban based theme would be that. But I have to set it up if I were to do it. This isn't me confirming I will do one, but you've gotten me thinking. You've gotten me thinking. We can do so. You can smooth out circular surfaces in Source 2 by merging the different edges like this. And when the lighting is applied, it looks a lot smoother like that. You can actually see the difference right there. I know someone managed to get the Combine to be the CTs in a different map, guess here. I'm not sure how that could work for this, but I would love to do that too. There could be. I have to see. The last time I attempted to take the take a like a separate skeleton and put it in the models from Alex, that didn't go well, but I was also on a different computer. And I have learned a little bit about model making since then. You know what? That's fair, Jeffinator. Um, Sometimes just getting the juices flowing is should be the goal, regardless of the platform. Yeah, you know what? I would oh, hit that on accident. Yeah, I would have to think about that a bit more. Oh, go. There we go. Yeah, some of the stuff I've seen, some of the creative stuff I've seen come out of various mapping competitions has been just amazing. Gmod or otherwise. The community does some awesome stuff. Very, very much awesome stuff. I've never actually seen. I don't think I've seen anyone do a Left 4 Dead uh, mapping competition, so that could be very interesting. Which I understand since there's a lot more work that needs to be done for that. I guess that's why one hasn't been done. It'd be interesting to see what people could come up with in Left 4 Dead with a time crunch. Creativity can sometimes blossom from uh, severe constraints. In fact, usually that's how a lot of really good games get a lot of their most creative elements is because they're under some sort of major constraint. A lot of the time, it's, well, time. That's the constraint. What can you do in a limited amount of time, sort of thing. Which is always interesting. Oh, yes. Everyone working on stuff, regardless of the program you're working on, make sure you save. Can do that right now. I'll make sure you're saving as you're going. Whatever it is, if you're writing, if you're hammering as well, if you're doing something in a different game engine, just make sure to save. I will continuously try and remind everyone to do that, as it's always a very good idea. Something I always need to remind myself to do, so. right now what I'm doing is just clipping off new faces so I can make the whole ceiling here more smooth. Thank you for the subscription, Raven's Mantle. Yes, you can port models from Blender into either Source game. Source 1 requires um, some special file tweaking in order to get it in as like a model, but Source 2 is a little easier. But there are certain benefits to doing it in Hammer like this, mainly in lighting. And surprisingly, it's a bit tedious in work, but it's simple in theory. You just get to do this. And yeah. The other thing is with arched ceilings like this, gotta keep in mind about the windows and how everything works with the skybox. And sometimes taking it out of program can make that a little difficult. Though you can port entire Source 2 maps outside of Source 2 into Blender to work on like this. Though I don't think the props come along. I think it's just the mesh geo. Also, hello there, Rome Evan. Good to see you. Yes, for those wondering, tomorrow I am busy. I know I have streamed more often on Fridays, but tomorrow some stuff in real life is happening, and I wanted to make sure that I got to you guys at the best possible time for everyone. So today I'm streaming today. I do plan on hopefully streaming again on Saturday, where we can do a bit more work on this. Um, but yeah. Do this. That's a great question, Jeffinator. And hello there, uh, Koru98. But to your question, Jeffinator, I think it depends on the medium and maybe the styles. Like location-based horror, like the back rooms, I think has proven itself to work really well. Maybe not a medium thing, because for the longest time, Slenderman and Amnesia, the 8 pages, were really popular, even in games and certain visual media like Marble Hornets, for Slenderman at least. Maybe it's just an individual preference thing. Okay, we actually don't need this. Hmm. Okay, we certainly don't need these. It is a very good question, Jeff Nader, about the different horrors. I think yeah, location-based horror stuff is a great contender. Yeah, the Alone mod is a pretty good example. I think even honestly, Portal 2, not Portal 2, Portal 1. This may sound crazy, but Portal 1 has a very alone sort of vibe that kind of almost translates into horror. I know GLaDOS is frequently heard over the PA, but there's that sudden crushing loneliness to Portal 1 when she's not there that I think kind of lends a horror vibe to it. Maybe it's the liminal aspects to it that causes that feeling, but it there is something about that. There is something to I guess that is I guess that's the main thing with the differences between them, because I think locational based horror like that really taps into the loneliness, while the creature horror taps into more um, direct, like other types of in your face horror. If that makes any sense. Uh, and with that, this ceiling is now fully connected, and look at how smooth that is. We can even borrow a texture like this. And voila. Have to, yeah. We'll fix some of the texturing stuff, but this can now, you can now see there. No, not very well. I'll have to tweak the lighting a bit more. Yes. Yes. Water break is good for everyone. Also water and save. Save if you're working. Save if you're working on something. Writing, mapping, whatever. Painting or drawing on your tablet or something. Make sure to do that. And I agree. This is a smooth criminal. So smooth the Metro cops are gonna have to arrest it. An anti-citizen smoothing. Okay, that joke didn't work. But you get the idea. There we go. Sometimes mapping work can get a little tedious, but the results can sometimes be phenomenal through that tedium. Yeah, the sterile lab environment Jeffinator does I think lend to that type of horror. I'm actually surprised that there aren't more environment-based horror games that use a lab setting like that. I know I guess some of the spot the difference games, like you go through the cycle of like walking through. It's sort of like Exit 8. Some of those games kind of use that to their advantage, but they also kind of dip into creature horror sometimes, depending on the circumstances. So I guess it covers a little bit of both. Can do a bit of the obvious thing here. Actually, let's double check. The certainly the head crab skin in Half-Life Alyx, which is very smooth. coloration is different for this area. That's fine. Here. We can do this. Yeah, I think yeah, there's some degree of everyone coalescing on some of the backroom ideas. Which is why certain styles are happening. Interesting. Um, hmm. There isn't something that color here. The color in source 1. That is unfortunate. Might have to pick a different material. Let's look in the concrete. Might need to put down a placeholder texture for now, at the very least. Dirt. Don't want dirt. Ooh. Actually. Do this. We'll extract. So you can do something here called extracting and detaching faces. Sometimes ruins certain things like this, but we can always fix that. So now that this is a separate block, I might be able to do certain color things. It's not great, but it could work with the limited resources we've got. There we go. Yeah, that's another reason why I went a little early today, Roma Evan and Jeff Nader, was because of the GTA 6. And I'll definitely end before that reveal goes out here, and the reveal's in 30 minutes, so we'll wrap it up before then. Have a good night, Jeff Nader. I'll catch you around. Take care. Do the same on this side. That's another great thing I love about Source 2 is you can copy and paste textures, colors, like that. Very nice. Start to that. And already, just trying to see some good progress here. And like that. We are about to have a very detailed background. It is. What's the GLaDOS quote? Federal regulations require me to say that this next chamber is looking pretty good. And yeah. I understand why she said that now, given we've made a significant amount of progress on getting this to look finalized. Already. Okay. Okay. There we go. What did I do down here to make it consistent with this? It's that. This texture. That is workable. Actually, since this won't be visible, let's just get rid of these. Here, and we'll just do this. Much better. A little water break before we continue our dive into this. Do that. Also, yes, make sure to save. I'll keep reminding everyone about that. Do not forget to save your work, regardless of what you are working on. The pillar situation. I know I made a bunch of changes to the pillars. You can do something in Source 2 where you can lock all the textures down like this, which is very helpful when moving things, so you can keep the textures. Yes, okay. Perfect. Okay. I'll have to tweak the pillars size in terms of height. That's okay. Getting the other details good is the better option. Making sure that all of this is taken care of. Hmm. Yes, okay. We'll do this. For now. Yeah, honestly, that works pretty well, especially from such a distance. Tweak some of this. Two. Alright, that works. Works well enough. Actually, we can do this. We should be able to dissolve that, dissolve that. And do that. And I'll fix the coloration after. Alright, we'll do a couple last things here, and then, as I know people will want to see some GTA, we'll call it there. Let's get some of these last remaining textures on. Okay. So it's this kind of texture. Ooh, this might be a difficult one to. You know what? rather than spending all that effort, why don't we just grab one of these and just use that? It will also help. Can actually just do. Yeah, no, let's grab this, because then I can do this, grab this, grab these as well. Group all that together, make it easier to just move. We can place this roughly where we want it to go. We'll have to tweak it to match the various little differences here, but it's a good start to getting all of this evenly detailed. And yeah, I think that's great progress. Because now we can tweak all of this to get it ready for the walls here more properly. Okay. Well, I think this is a solid place to call it for now. I apologize for those who might be just joining in or rejoining in. I know there's a big games presentation with GTA here soon. I want to give everyone time to get ready for that, as it's happening at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It was lovely working with y'all, working beside everyone. Good to see everyone. Hope everyone has a good weekend and a good day. And yeah, drink lots of water, save your projects. Don't forget those things. And I'll catch you guys around probably on Saturday. Take care, everyone.